Good morning, girls. Hope everyone is well and safe at home. Girls, last time we had discussed the topic partition of Bengal. We had discussed its background, causes, reaction of Hindus and Muslims, and then finally the annulment of partition of Bengal. Now, today we are going to start with our new topic, that is Simla Deputation. Now, open your books on page number 27. Simla Deputation 1906 and separate electorate. Basically, this Simla deputation was headed by Sir Aga Khan, and basically when there was partition of Bengal, there was lot much agitation from the Hindus and Congress that government was not going to support them, and then as a reaction they made different types of problems for the Muslims. So as a head of the Muslims delegation, Sir Aga Khan met Viceroy and presented the points which are remembered in the history as the points of the Simla deputation. Now, Hindus, they were very angry with the British government on the partition of the Bengal, as the government did this against the wishes of the Hindus and Congress. Hindus and Congress, they were not willing to have the partition of Bengal. So the government announced to introduce the political reforms to appease the Hindus and the Congress. Appease means make calm, to make calm the Hindus by agreeing to their demand. Clear? So in order to cool them down, in order to make them calm, the government decided to agree to some of their demands. So meanwhile, majority of the Muslims, they were not registered, because they must be registered in the voters list. They were not registered, and Hindus did not cast vote in favor of any of the Muslim. It means that the Muslims had no representation in any provincial council. New reforms were meant to increase the Hindus' influence and downgrade the Muslims' position. So it means when the Muslims, they were not included in the voters list, so Hindus did not cast the vote in the favor of any of the Muslims. So it means that there was no representation. There was no representation of Muslims in any of the provincial council. So the new reforms which were meant, they were basically meant to increase the Hindus' influence. To increase the Hindus' influence. And what about the Muslims? Downgrade the Muslims' position. On this, Sir Aga Khan as the head of the Muslim deputation. So you must clear about the meaning of deputation. Deputation means a group of people who are sent to do something on behalf of the large group. Clear? So on behalf of the Muslims, on the behalf of the, you can say, the group of Muslims, the Sir Aga Khan as the head of the Muslim deputation, he met the Viceroy Lord Minto on which date? 1st October 1906 at Simla, and in history it is known as Simla deputation. What is it known as? Simla deputation. Now the delegation made the following demands. Delegation means the body of those delegates, they made the following demands. These were two demands. The first one, separate seats must be reserved for the Muslims in which Muslim voters may cast votes. Means, what's the first demand? That separate seats should be reserved for whom? For the Muslims, in which who can cast the votes, in which only Muslim voters may cast vote. In the same way, the separate electorate for the Muslims may be implemented. Implemented means put into effect. Clear? So the separate electorate, as you have discussed it before, that elections on the basis of the religious representation is the separate electorate. So the separate electorate for the Muslims must be implemented. It must be put into effect. Now, keeping in view the Muslims' importance, the Muslims may be given more representation in the Legislative Council. What is Legislative Council? Having the power to make law. Clear? So it is very strong council which has the power to make law, and the other organization than their actual number. The Viceroy promised to protect the rights and interests of the Muslim. What did Viceroy promise? He promised to protect the rights and interests of the Muslims, and he admitted that both demands of the Muslims, these two demands, the first one is separate seats must be reserved for the Muslims in which only Muslims may cast vote, and secondly, that the Muslims should be given the importance in the Legislative Council. Clear? So both of them, these demands, they should be accepted. Then the next one, Muslims were appropriate, that the both demands of the Muslims, they were appropriate. Appropriate means suitable, and admissible. Admissible means acceptable or valid. That the Viceroy promised to protect the rights and interests of the Muslims and admitted that the both demands, these are acceptable, these are suitable to accept and to implement. Simla deputation encouraged the Muslims and they began to think about their future. Encouraged means they decided to give support, they decided to give the confidence, to hope to the Muslims, so that they began to think about their future. So this is what all about Simla deputation. So you will write the question with the topic. Write down the background of Simla deputation. In background, you will start from here. Hindus were angry with the British government. Clear? These will be two short questions. Write down the background of Simla deputation, which you will write on page number 27 from here till page number 28 till Simla deputation. Clear? In history, it is known as Simla deputation. Then you will write question number 2. What were the demands of the Simla deputation? Clear? What were the demands of Simla deputation? Then you will write the delegation made the following demands, number 1 and number 2. Clear? So these are the two short questions which you will do with this topic. Clear? And take care, girls. Allah Hafiz.